Welcome to Sally Speaks podcast. I am so excited today because I have with me the rebellious coach, Lisa Staker. And so for those of you that don't know this podcast, I am Sally and I am a high performance coach working with success and mindset. And I believe that everyone deserves to create the wealth, the wellness, and the wisdom that they've always desired. And my passion lies in really helping all of you break through your barriers to success, provide you with the tools to create that dream that you've always been dreaming about, and mentor you to have the ability to achieve your goals so that you can truly live your life, your best life, and on purpose. And this podcast is designed to inspire, educate, and motivate you to success. And as you know, my guests are leaders in their field, and they have incredible journeys and stories that they're going to share with you. And today is no different. So welcome, Lisa. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that don't know, Lisa and I do a weekly live on LinkedIn, and it is called
Corporate to Freedom.
Corporate to Freedom. So every week we pick out a different topic and we talk a little bit about what that transition is like, because we have both come from the corporate world with many years of experience and similar backgrounds, both in the financial area, which we found out afterwards. But it was certainly fun. It's certainly fun to be able to have that free training that we're doing every week to really help educate people to be able to understand what it's like when you actually break free. So tell us a little bit about your story, Lisa, on how you broke free from the corporate world, and why did you even choose to do that?
Well, my story kind of, with Sally, it's finance background. I was for over 30 years, I worked in the insurance industry as an actuary. Over that time, enjoyed most of it. I think over the last 10 years of it, I was beginning to kind of think, I'm not quite sure. I kept changing jobs. And it wasn't really until kind of we had the lockdown and I did kind of, like many people, kind of reassessed what I wanted to do, that I realized the reason I was changing jobs all the time was I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. So it's quite a technical role, and I like people. I like helping people. And the bit I liked about my role was the people management and mentoring and developing people. But there was less and less opportunities for those, particularly as everyone was working from home. So I wasn't getting kind of that kind of need that I had satisfied. So I did the whole kind of what's my purpose in life thing that we do. And I kind of work with people now doing. And I really, once I came across kind of, I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to help develop people. And then I kind of came across the role of a coach. And as soon as I hit on the role of a coach, it just felt right. It just felt, it kind of fit all the boxes of the things I wanted to do. Plus I could use my years of industry knowledge and business knowledge that I've got to then help people through my coaching. So it was back in mid 2021 and I decided to do this, and I decided I wanted to qualify as a coach. So I wanted to get ICF qualification. So I'd started a course that kind of did that. And as soon as I started the course, my mind left the building from my job. My original intention was to keep working for a year, like a lot of people, start my business while I'm working, do the kind of that approach. I couldn't do it. So yeah, my mind had left the building. So I then resigned almost immediately, did my 3 months notice, and then January 22 started my business. Originally doing career coaching. So I was very much working with the people that I used to work with within my industry, within the finance industry, kind of females in middle management, trying to get up to the next layer. But I didn't really feel very authentic. As you can see from my purple hair, I don't tend to fit very well in a very normal finance office environment. It didn't feel right to me. So I was still kind of working with the kind of people within that corporate environment. I was really struggling kind of authenticity, and it's when I kind of came across, actually, no, this isn't me. And did some more soul searching, and that's when the Rebellious coach was born. So I wanted to do something that was authentic to me, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to be the Rebellious coach, what am I going to help people rebel against? And that's when I came up with the idea of rebelling kids corporate, which is what I do, which is hence the Corporate to Freedom that I do now with Sally.
Yeah.
So I now help people, professionals who are, whether it's in the finance industry, lawyers, you name it, move out of corporate life and start their own business.
Okay. Awesome. So a couple of quick questions there. So it sounds to me like once you made a decision, that decision was like, okay, I got to do this now. So you gave in your notice right away. So, and then the other thing that I heard was that you went for training, you went to get your ICF, studying that, and then being able to be feeling like you had the ability to do that job. So just like you would have done an actuary, you just took some courses to get that. But what I heard also was that twice you reevaluated what your real purpose was or what your real goal was. So tell us what that was like, because most people think that if they switch goals, number one, switch from the corporate to just doing your own job is a big deal. So for most people, it's a hard journey to discover what that might look like. And that fear really clicks in. But then as you're working along, you're like, okay, well, now I need to rebrand myself and I need to really be true to myself. So you changed path again. So tell us what your process was like that and what your mindset was when you were going through those steps, because a lot of us can relate to that and how we're because I've done the same thing, right? I've done the same thing.
Yeah. So I suppose that with the original there, we were saying about kind of, I resigned, and then it was the mindset, well, I now need to kind of set up this business. And it was very well, what do I know? And so I leant very much on what I knew. So I wanted to do coaching. I was coming from the actuarial industry. Oh, I can help people do what I used to do within my job, which was helping them progress in their careers. So the people who were either worked for me or the people I mentored, I was mentoring them to progress their careers. So it seemed a reasonably natural thing to do. But again, it's very early on in business. So I was very much, drawing on those ideas. There was an awful lot going on, obviously, transitioning from a corporate career to being my own business owner. Huge change going on in my life. So it was almost like grabbing onto the bit that I knew. I think that's where that mindset bit came from, that it was just like have a little bit comfort zone there. There was a little bit still that I knew, although I was in a totally different environment with my own business and going out and marketing myself and everything like that. There was still something I knew. And then as I gained confidence, and I think that is as you begin to kind of be a business owner, a lot of people said this to me when I first started, that they said, for a year or two, you may not be doing what you originally started to do because you will see other things, you will gain that confidence. So I think that as I kind of gained confidence as a coach, I qualified, I was getting more and more clients. It gave me that space to actually say what is actually most important to me, and then gain that kind of that feeling that actually I can be myself. And actually when I did that, things kind of slotted into place even more. So although I was enjoying being a coach and it felt really right to kind of leave my corporate role, there was still something niggling. And so it just kind of satisfied that kind of when the Rebellious came. It took another coach actually to say something to me. We were talking about things, and she just said to me, you're just you're really anti-corporate. I said, I don't think I am anti-corporate. There's a place for it. It's not, I don't want to be in that place. And then we kind of looked at kind of what the words kind of represent that, and kind of the Rebellious came out. And then I looked at what I've been through all my life. I've always been a little bit rebellious. Back when I started my actual qualifications, most people go off and do a degree of some sort, most likely a maths degree. I went straight from school and just did it. So I've always had that little bit of a rebellious streak. And so I thought, that I actually really relate to that. And then obviously kind of with my personality and the hair color, it all came out. So it just felt right, but it was a process and it was gradual. It wasn't overnight. And I don't think at the beginning I would have had the confidence to do it. I had to have confidence in everything else.
It's like, well, and for most businesses, what we want to suggest is that, try and stick to a market that you're familiar with, because it's easier because you're already an expert in that field, to be able to work with people in that field. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Some of them are going to take off in different tangents, but we all have a natural market. So I want to make this clear, because when we typically go into business, we're going to be marketing ourselves. And so we all have a natural market. And oftentimes we think, okay, well, if I just go onto one of the platforms on social media, I can create a market. That's way harder and takes way longer than working with people that you're currently, working with, or that you have connections with. So I want to bring that piece up, because I think that's a critical piece of success out of the gate. So when you did come out of the gate, you had some success with the people that you were currently working with in that field, but then you were able to say, this really isn't filling my bucket. This isn't what I envisioned for myself. So how do I need to tweak this? And sometimes it is changing our niche market.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that process. So I know you talked a bit about it, but can you go up to a bit more specific on the type of markets you changed to?
Yeah, so the career change piece was very much around people in finance, a lot of mostly females. And I'd have to say, I didn't market it as actuaries, but because I came from the actual world, I would say 90% of my clients were actuaries. Yeah. And it sort of morphed in kind of quite naturally, because some of the clients that I was working with didn't want to do a career change. They wanted to actually get out of corporate. So although you say it's kind of very different, it was kind of a natural for me to be able, there was a couple of clients that actually, no, I want to get out of corporate. And so I'd work with kind of with the programs that I do now, I almost advised around them. Because I was doing kind of on the hoof, as it were, to say, actually, they want to do this. Well, how do I advise them, but coach them to kind of get through this? And so it was a relatively natural progression. And then I kind of went out to the world and say, I've done this. And again, it is drawing on my own experience, because I know what it's like to kind of leave corporate and start your own business. I know what it's like to start a business. I've learned an awful lot on the way, and it's really kind of giving people that knowledge so that they don't have to not make the errors, because I think, it's a learning process whenever you do things, but things they can speed things up a little bit, because I can kind of coach them through kind of the mindset and the and the practical side of how to kind of do that business. So yeah, although it seems a lot different, it wasn't. It wasn't too much. And then kind of expanding it kind of further to the actuaries. That's really been kind of through the LinkedIn world. So I've been able to kind of get out there and say, look, I've done it in this environment. The actual principles of it are the same. We all have that fear of leaving our stable income and then going to where we may not know what that income is going to be. We all have that fear of we're not good enough, that imposter syndrome, that mindset that what if it fails? It actually doesn't matter what industry it is you're coming from. It's more kind of the process. For me, it's the niche, is the fact that you want to leave the corporate and then go and start up your business. So actually it's irrelevant. So I can, you can do this with lawyers, accountants. It can be with people who just want to go and maybe start a soap making business. The principles are the same.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people that are looking to make that change, even if it's a part-time change at the beginning while they're in their corporate, still need the guidance on what do I need to focus on first, because we can throw a lot of stuff out and do a lot of activity behind the scenes, but we're not monetizing it. And at the end of the day, the goal to have a business is to monetize, just like we would in our corporate job. We go to work, we want to make some money. We want to make some money when we start to launch our business. Although lots of times in certain companies or certain as you're building, you're going to be investing in your own development. To be able to have that investment so that you do shorten the time to success and start to get some profits coming in. So I think that's a really important piece that Lisa's talking about, is how to, working with a coach like Lisa is allowing you to be able to shorten that time to success, because she's done it and she's also coached people through it. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what trade you're going into. Moving into a business from a full-time career is the same. And so tell me, what are some of the biggest fears that people have when they're making that jump?
I would say the biggest fear is money. It's that security. So it's the going from that stable income, what you're getting in your paycheck every month, to that I don't know what I'm going to get. And how you kind of get over that. And for a lot of people, it is about getting their finances in place to feel that they can actually do it, and they've got a plan to pay their mortgage, particularly with mortgage rates going up at the moment. There's a lot of people there who are saying, okay, maybe kind of a year or so ago, 2 years ago, the mortgage wasn't such a big part of my outgoings, but it really is now. I need to be able to cover that for whatever period that it's going to take for this business to build up. How am I going to do that? And as you say, there's some people who want to do the route of, well, we'll start by, working alongside your corporate job. For some people, it's not possible because their corporate jobs are so demanding, and they just don't have that capacity, or they have legalities within their contracts that say, actually, you can't do anything on the side. Yeah. So it does depend. And for those people, it may be more about actually saving that pot to be able to kind of start their business, or whether it is to get loans or startup grants, whatever it is within your country, there is usually some sort of support available. So it's getting over that. So I think once people realize there is a lot of options out there, it feels less scary. And I suppose the best piece of advice I can kind of give people is to put that plan together. Because once you put that plan together of what you think, well, what you expect to have to pay out in the next year or two, which is like your sustaining amount of kind of income that you need as a kind of for your household, and actually compare that to what you can get through, whether it's from savings or loans or kind of working on your business part-time, you can then sort of kind of take that fear away. You can say, actually, no, there isn't such a big gap, or actually, no, there is things I can do in place to kind of get it going. And that helps take the fear away. I always think kind of knowledge and actually kind of understanding really kind of help with that fear, because a lot of the time fear is just the unknown. So I try and turn it into the known for people.
Yeah. And sometimes we can turn that fear into excitement, right? Like, oh my gosh, what would happen if I was able to make this a go? How fun would it be if I was actually able to replace my full-time income before I even left my full-time job? Because there's a lot of stories, a lot of us have done this too, is where we've worked our full-time job and our part-time job in the evening or whenever your hours are. And we have more fun doing that in the evening than we do in the full-time job. And so it's not necessarily a burden. It's more of an excitement, like, oh my gosh, I'm creating my dream. And so when you sort of hold on to that idea of like, I'm creating what I can see for my future, that I can have that control and that freedom and that ability to serve so many people, whatever it is that you're working with. When you come forward with that type of mindset, putting those extra hours in at the end of your workday becomes easy. And so once you're able to do that, and then you're able to monetize, if you're able to, like I was in one of those careers as well, Lisa, where we weren't allowed to have a second job because of compliance, governmental compliance in the industry I was in. But at the same time, if you can do that, I would highly suggest it, because that's when you're going to get your excitement every day. That's when you're going to keep engaged into your business. That's when you're going to be able to be, possibly going to do a trade show on a weekend or something like that, that's going to give you that energy, give you some sales, give you those new clients that are coming in and making you really feel like there is a viable market out there for your product or service. And so that's one of the things that I've really noticed as well, because I work with similar people as you do in their transition. And the fears, there's many fears. One of them is the money. But I also know that, what 98% of the population or 96% of the population are so dependent upon trading time for money. And that's 96% of the population is trading time for money. So what do you want to do? Do you want to break out of that, or do you want to still stay in that? Because, we're in that type of environment. We've both been there. You go there, you go to work, you get paid a certain amount. You hope that you're going to get a raise one day, and you save some money, and you have maybe, if you're lucky, you'll have a pension plan these days. A lot of companies don't do that anymore, but you might have a government plan. So, you'll just do the do. And, you probably won't ever have that beautiful car that you wanted, or that dream home, or travel the world like you chose in a lot of cases. But those fears can be tempered and taken back by just opening up to possibility. And everybody has an inner dream. Everybody has a dream if they actually will tap into it. Because I know when I work with my clients as well, the first thing we start with is tapping into what their dreams are, because they haven't actually given themselves permission to do that. And to me, that's a really sad state to be in, is that you haven't given yourself permission to look beyond where you currently are, and you're frustrated and you're upset and you're not enjoying it. You just don't have that best zest for life anymore. So now when you're open to exploring, that fear can just be that tummy that's going around in circles, but yet it gives you so much opportunity to say, oh, this is a really good feeling. Like, this is excitement. It's fear. It's a little bit of excitement. It's fear. It's a little bit of excitement, but like, I can do this. And so I know that you've done this because we've talked quite a few times, but how does that make you feel when you actually help them to find and determine exactly what they want to do and they start to get that excitement?
Oh, it's the greatest pleasure in the whole world, because it is just like, I mean, one of the first exercises I do with my clients is to do a vision board of what they want their life to look like. So it's very much as you described there, to kind of get that excitement going. What could your life look like? Not only kind of on the money side of it, but doing something you love, plus having the time or the freedom that you want, whether it's to be around your family, and to get them to really visualize it and actually get it down on paper and draw it, and then put it up somewhere that they see it every day. So that, and whenever there's that moment of, oh no, I'm not sure if I can, you look at it and you think, yeah, and you get that excitement again. And it does help kind of with having that excitement to be able to then do some of the things that are harder, that longer day, because you're doing your business in the evenings. So yeah, so the actual kind of, once they kind of, people see that, and then you work with your clients and you kind of see them every time you speak to them, they're having more ideas. It's almost like it clears their brain of the rubbish of the corporate world and all the things they have to hold in their brain there. So you kind of have this board there, and it kind of like, it's like clearing it out. So all the memory, clear your computer of memory, kind of what could you do? And then it's when all the sparks fly and actually they realize what they could do and how much they would enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So even when you have things that you're not so keen on doing, actually they become challenges. And then you enjoy, once you've overcome those challenges, you enjoy them more, much more than you would at your day job.
Exactly. And I think, the fact that you're stepping into new territory is always exciting. Yes. Like, it's like we do a lot of mountain climbing, my husband and I. We're hiking, not climbing. We got big mountains here on the west coast of Canada. But when we do that, there's certain parts where my husband has a lot of confidence and I get to a certain point and I'm like, right? And it's like the other day we had to use ropes to climb up the side and go down. First of all, we had to go down one and I'm like, I don't ever want to do these ropes thing. That was in my mindset, but I had to do it to continue with the hike. And so when I did, it was like, I did it. I was so excited because I did something I hadn't done before. And we've hiked for 30 years through the mountains, but I had never done the ropes. And then turns out the next couple of hikes we went on all had ropes going up and down, up and down. It's like, how did this happen? That this happened. But now I had the confidence to be able to do it. And it's like, okay, well, here's another rope. Off I go, up and down, right? And so I want you to think about those things that you've never stepped into before. But once you're faced with having to walk through that, how much easier it comes after you do it once, right?
Yeah, I love the analogy of a roller coaster, and that, anyone, I'm a bit of a roller coaster jumper, and I love this, the hill climb, and you're going up it, and you go, oh, why did I do this? Oh, I shouldn't have done this. And then you go over the top, and you go down that first dip, and your stomach is in your head. And you're just feeling awful, but then the adrenaline hits. It's just like, yeah, this is fun, and you go off and you really enjoy the rest of the roller coaster. And if you're anything like me, I get off the roller coaster and I go straight back on them again, because they're then and then that hill climb doesn't seem bad at all.
Yeah,
because that the high that you get from completing something overcomes any of the kind of the bad bits that you have to do to get there.
Yeah. There's so many different elements of business that you have to start to understand. But remember that there's resources, like Lisa talked about earlier, there's resources in your community that oftentimes, and especially for women, I'm finding there's lots of women entrepreneur associations there's funding and there's ability to be trained and things like that. But there's also, lots of different business organizations like chambers of commerce. I don't know what you call them in the UK, but those are where the business people can belong to a group together and just share ideas and get educated. And so there's lots of different support out there. So, and don't feel like you have to stay with one. Go and choose the ones that really resonate with you and where you feel comfortable, because you'll also get a lot of free information and education through working with other business owners. So there's lots of different people out there as you start to evolve your business to that next level, to be able to talk to them to find out, hey, how did you go from here to here? And, you know, Lisa and I can definitely help with those types of things, but Lisa in particular, really being able to help you to move from where you are today in corporate and getting out of corporate to that freedom.
Yeah.
And, you know, the business plans, you do business plans and things with people?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's the kind of
the
complete package. So yeah, so if someone works with me, they can be sitting in their corporate job, and the idea is that it's basically hold your hand all the way through to having that established, thriving business. So all the way along, to help with all those moments when you go, what have I done? Kind of all the, all that mindset moments, and then all the practical side of it, which is, setting up your company, business plans, marketing, getting out there and talking to people. In the UK, we have chambers of commerce. We have the Federation of Small Businesses is fantastic. They do lots of networking, loads of advice. There's loads of advice at your local libraries. It's just this huge amounts of information. In some ways, there is too much out there, because it's quite hard sometimes to pick through, and that's where a coach can also help you with, to help pick through what is actually going to be important, what's on that. I say, you said earlier, and I would totally agree with the fact that we're here to make money. We wouldn't be here in business unless we weren't going to want to make money. So to keep that critical path, kind of old project manager language, what is going to make us the money? What are the income earning kind of things to do? So you also have to be careful you don't get sidetracked. I call it shiny object syndrome, where you go and you investigate so many different things that you never get around to making any money, because you spend all your time going to people, talking to them, going on courses, everything. You have to kind of balance it, but it is really good. And some people say it's called find your tribe, find your people who are like you. You may find that one event or one group of people just aren't the ones for you. It could be, if you're selling to business, you might want to go to certain chambers of commerce or kind of networking events that have those people there. So it's almost like your ideal clients. So it does take some time. Going back to kind of starting up and the lessons I learned, I think I probably learned 6 months, lost 6 months. And that's what I want to stop people doing. Trying new things, doing things that didn't work, not staying on that critical path. And that's kind of the bit that I would really want to kind of say to people, there is a better way of doing it. And, to kind of say to people, you don't have to be something to everyone. And I think that's, again, when we start off in business, we try and be too accommodating. We're trying to say, oh, yes, we say yes to everything, and end up, it doesn't, we end up overworking ourselves and not actually kind of putting those foundations in for a thriving business. There's a lot of things at the beginning that you need to do to kind of build, to get those foundation blocks. And once you have that foundation blocks there, you can grow it, you can scale. You can get more clients. But if you don't have those foundations, every time that you take on a new client, it could be taking you 2 or 3 weeks to kind of settle them in, or, and it takes up that time. Whereas if you have the foundations there, you could have a new client onboarded within a few days. Yeah,
and I think that's a critical piece as well, is like the shiny objects are what you're finding on all the social media, where I can help you make 10K months. Or do you want to do this? Like, do you want to learn this tool? I mean, I've been so a victim of that because I haven't really dived into the technology piece of my business as far as the marketing. And so I've been on a number of different ones, but it comes a time where your calendar could just be filled with finding information as opposed to actually taking action. So you need to be aware of that, because it's a good time filler when you're feeling off.
It's always like
this will help me. I think I'll do this, and you give yourself permission, right?
Yeah, you're trying to say, right, I'm busy, and I'm working on my business because I'm attending all these, free events and courses and things. But what you're actually doing is avoiding maybe getting yourself out there, or avoiding actually doing money-making activities, the things that maybe make you a little bit uncomfortable. You might, coming onto live events or anything like that, which may help you kind of develop your business. You might say, no, I'm not doing that. I've got a course to do. I'm going to hide behind that. And
I think, one of the things I've taught before in my book is that income generating activities must come first in your day. So if you do your income generating activities first in your day, the rest of the day is just going to go beautifully, because you'll have time to do all those other things that you choose to do. But if you do your income generating activities first, so maybe that's picking up the phone and contacting somebody, or having a Zoom call, or going out to meet somebody for an appointment, being face to face with someone that has the potential to purchase from you is an income generating activity. And, hold yourself accountable to, if you started your work in your corporate world at 9 a.m., you want to have your first appointment at 9 a.m. scheduled. And so think about that and have those income generating activities. I usually suggest at least 5 income generating activities. That might be 5 contacts with people. It might be, 5 meetings with people. It might be, 3 meetings with people, and 2 making a prospect call to someone that doesn't know you yet. And so making sure that you're doing those income generating activities first is the most critical piece, because without the income generating activities, all the rest means nothing. Right. And it's so easy to say, oh my gosh, I got to get my post up. Oh, I've got to get to this event. Oh, I've got this online thing I've got to attend. It's easy to do that stuff, but it's not easy to do the income generating activities unless you make it a habit. And when you make it a habit, then it becomes simple. So that's where I would highly suggest that anybody is thinking about starting their business. What are the key income generating activities that you need to do first thing every morning? And you'll find that it won't take that long once you get in the habit of doing it first thing too. So it'll just go, because you've blocked a set of time. Maybe it's a half an hour, maybe it's an hour, but you've got that time to be in front of people, some way, shape, form, or businesses, whatever it is you're marketing to get that income coming in.
And if it takes, initially it might take longer, and don't be scared off by that. So let's say the first time you do this, it actually takes you a couple of hours, stick with it, because it, as you do it more and more, it will get quicker and quicker. And you will just, and it's like anything, like it's the social media posting, it might initially take you a while to do. But if you get in the rhythm of it and you get kind of used to it, it will get quicker and quicker, and it won't feel such a burden. And to be able to kind of get those sort of activities done at the beginning of the day, and then it does give you the freedom to say, right, I'm going to go off and go to my Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to go off and do a training course, because that is also developing my business, but I'm going to pick and choose which ones I go to kind of take those forward
today. Because I did all my income generating activities, so now I'm guilt-free, right? Because sometimes that guilt-free feeling is what you need, because if you put off those critical activities to the end of the day, you're going to be like feeling more stressed when you go into them, right? If you go into them first thing in the morning, then you'll find that if I do that first, I will absolutely increase my goals and my targets. And so that to me is the most important thing that you need to do. When you're starting your business, because at the end of the day, like we said earlier, you're here to make money. You're not here just to be, being nice to people and having chit chats. You want to be able to ask them if they're not the right person for you. Oh, do you know somebody that might be interested in this? Like those simple questions can make a big difference. So if I was meeting with Lisa to, do a sales conversation about my business because she was curious about it, and she just says this isn't the right time for her, or whatever that might be, and I couldn't overcome that objection, I could ask for referrals, because you don't know if she knows, because now she might really like me, but maybe she just couldn't afford my program, or maybe it just wasn't the right day today for her to say yes, but she is interested, and she says, well, you know what, Janice might be interested. How about I give her a call and then I can refer her to you? And I said, well, if you don't mind sharing her number, then I can get back to her after you've given me that approval. So is that okay? And so just find a way to make it a really smooth transaction, but remember to follow up with Lisa about Janice, right? So have that tracker, have your tracker for your prospects, because it's so easy to forget about people that are potential. But don't be afraid to ask for referrals, because everybody knows a lot of people. And that can make a big difference to your business as well from an income generation perspective.
Yeah, because if you think about it, every person is going to know 5 people. And it's not long before those 5 people, it goes out and out and out.
Yeah.
And if you think about how many people you need to contact in order to be able to, because whatever you're selling, there's only going to be a certain number of people who are ready and willing to kind of buy that at any one time. So it may be over 100 people you have to contact, and only 2% want to buy your product at any one time. So you are going to have to make a lot of contacts, and also you're going to have to get used to people saying no. And that's another thing I
Yeah.
see people struggle with, because, you know, in the corporate world, we're very used to doing things the way we do things, and people don't say no to you that often. So you're going to be talking to people, and they're going to say things like it's not the right time, and it may genuinely be not the right time for them. It might be the right time for them in 6 months' time, and they may come back to you, but that time it's not right for them. And it's not personal. It's not, you know, a lot of people internalize this and say, oh, well, it's me. What am I doing wrong? It's not you're doing anything wrong. It's just not the right time for them. So actually building that resilience and understanding that it's not you, it's just not right for them at that time is a very critical.
In that case, you can also say, so would it be okay if I gave you a call or touch base in 6 months from now, or 90 days from now, or whatever? Like, just try and have an okay to get back into a conversation. Because I would say 95% of people say, sure, yeah, give me a call back then. Or if I have anything else coming up, would you like me to invite you to it? Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that they're saying no at that to you, it's saying it's just not right for me right now, but definitely stay in contact. And so that's all. It's just a building relationship. That relationship is critical. And for me, the big key in that as well is to make sure that you're having 3 contacts with them pretty quickly, right? So even if it's a prospect that you haven't offered anything to, once you meet somebody, connect with them 3 times in a short period of time. Right. So I might meet Lisa today, like when Lisa and I met, right? We met through a post, then we got together on a call, and then we brainstormed about doing something on LinkedIn with the LinkedIn Lives. And then we got together again shortly thereafter. There's our 3 touch points. And that now we've been working together for about 2 or 3 months now. I think it's going into the 3rd month, isn't it? Where we're doing a weekly event, right? And now she's just launching her podcast. My podcast has been going for a bit longer, but now she's a guest on my podcast. But we've got this relationship now that we've developed. We know, like, and trust that we could cross refer when we need to, right? So those are the kinds of things that are going to build you the client base. So I want you to remember that those quick connections in the first 3 connections are critical to get to know, like, and trust you, but also just to get to know that person better and take the time to get to know them as a person. And that's what Lisa and I did. And here we are. She's in UK. I'm in the West Coast of Canada, and we're doing all sorts of fun things together. But we also offer similar services. And so it's not a competition. For me, it's not a competition, because people are going to resonate with Lisa, people are going to resonate with me, but it's a like-minded people coming together to create more success for other people that really drives both of us. And I've seen that in Lisa from what she's talked about over the last number of weeks that we've been months we've been working together. But it's really fun to be able to know that it's just building a relationship as you're going into your business, and then just being the best service provider, product provider, whatever it is, making sure that customer service is continued and that, you know, people feel appreciated, because then they'll want to do more business with you. So that to me is a key piece of that whole element. And I know that that's how you operate, Lisa, because I know you well now. So any last comments about the whole transition from the Rebellious coach?
Last comments. I would say you mentioned the podcast there, so I will actually mention my podcast is Escape the Rat Race. So it is all about escaping corporate and starting your own business. So I'd love you to have a listen. If you Spotify and Apple Podcasts, just search it and you'll find it there. My last words on it. It can seem very scary. It can feel that you're on your own, but you're not. There's plenty of people like myself and Sally out there who can kind of help you smooth that process. And you may say, oh no, I can do it myself. But I can almost guarantee you that if you do it with support of someone, you will do it quicker and you will make less, you'll have less challenges.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Yeah, great advice. I really appreciate you joining us today. And I will put all the links to Lisa's podcast and how to find her on LinkedIn and other channels so that you can find her wherever you need to. And I will put the Escape the Rat Race in there as well, which is lots of fun. I can't wait to see it and hear it. But I really appreciate you joining me today. And thank you so much for all of your great advice. Anybody that's over in the UK, actually, she has a global business like I do. I believe it's global, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love that part of it. It makes me kind of feel I'm much better than I was before, because I was with a Canadian operation in a certain town that I had to work in. And so now I get to just be global and meet people all over the place to be able to roll my business out and to be able to serve others. So it's lots of fun. And I really appreciate you coming in and being honest and sharing your background as well as how you serve others, because I know that anybody that works with you is going to get the full meal deal. And they're really going to be supported in that journey. So thank you for joining me today.
No, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.